Reports that the IDF has now reached a mere 25 kilometers outside of Syria's capital city of Damascus. Israel has seized the opportunity of the fall of the al-Assad regime to destroy any remaining advanced Syrian weapons systems. Extensive airstrikes have been carried out, and foreign Arab media report that a Syrian chemical weapons expert was eliminated in Damascus, though Israel's involvement remains unconfirmed. Meanwhile, Jerusalem has informed the UN Security Council that the incursion is only temporary. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
The IDF is carrying out extensive bombing raids in Syria, destroying major elements of the former Syrian armed forces, hitting military sites across the country. Overnight, the IDF targeted the Defense Research Institute in Aleppo and the Scientific Research Center on the outskirts of Damascus, among other sites. There are also reports of an extensive attack on the Syrian naval vessels in Latakia. The strikes were carried out to prevent them falling into the hands of terrorists. According to the UK-based Observatory for Human Rights, Israel has destroyed the most important military sites in Syria, with about 250 airstrikes since the fall of President Bashar al-Assad's regime. On the ground, the IDF has been expanding the buffer on the Golan and has reportedly entered 9 villages on the Syrian Golan, with reports placing IDF troops 10 kilometers inside Syrian territory and about 25 kilometers south of Damascus. Israel informed the United Nations Security Council that it's taken limited and temporary measures in a demilitarized strip bordering Syria to counter any threats, particularly to residents of the Israeli Golan. Ambassador Danon said Israel is not intervening in the conflict between Syrian armed groups and remains committed to the framework of the 1974 Separation of Forces Agreement. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar also insisted that the Israeli incursion was temporary.
In the Golan Heights, we took in some points, ruling territories near the border in order not to be surprised from October 7 in the Syrian border. I emphasize it is a very limited and temporary step we took from security reasons.
And in light of the dramatic events in Syria, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel will do whatever is necessary to ensure its security. The Prime Minister also reiterated that the Golan Heights will forever be an inseparable part of the State of Israel. All the details in the following report. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday night said that Israel is taking all the actions necessary to try to ensure its security with regards to the new situation created in Syria.
עם שר הביטחון ישראל כץ ובגיבוי כל חברי הקבינט, הנחיתי את צה"ל לתפוס את אזור החיץ בינינו לבין סוריה ואת העמדות השולטות והסמוכות לו. זה כולל גם את פסקת החרמון, מה שקרוי החרמון הסורי.
Speaking at a late-night press conference, Netanyahu expressed both hope and optimism, as well as concern over the downfall of the Bashar al-Assad regime, one of the most significant strategic shifts in the Middle East in decades.
ומדינת ישראל מבססת את מעמדה כמוקד של עוצמה באזורנו, כפי שלא היה עשרות שנים. מי שמשתף איתנו פעולה, מרוויח בגדול. מי שתוקף אותנו, מפסיד בגדול. אנחנו רוצים לראות את סוריה אחרת, הן לטובתנו והן לטובת תושבי סוריה. גם היום אנחנו מושיטים יד למי שרוצה לחיות איתנו בשלום, ואנחנו נגדע את ידו של מי שמנסה לפגוע בנו.
The minister also reiterated the importance of Israel's presence in the Golan Heights, offering a rebuke of the United Nations, which just 4 days prior to the fall of the Assad regime voted for Israel to give the Golan Heights to Syria.
היום כולם מבינים את החשיבות הכבירה של הימצאותנו שם, על הגולן ולא למרגלות הגולן. השליטה שלנו ברמת הגולן מבטיחה את ביטחוננו, היא מבטיחה את ריבונותנו.
Netanyahu added that the Golan Heights will now forever be an inseparable part of the State of Israel. The downfall of the Assad regime has brought hope throughout the world, especially among the hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees scattered around the globe, who are watching the unfolding events with a mix of optimism and concern. Joining us now from Germany is Rawan Osman, a Syrian-Lebanese peace activist with an incredible life story. Growing up in Syria and Lebanon, she was forced to flee, like so many other Syrians, during the civil war and made her way to Europe, where she met Jewish people for the very first time. This made her challenge the anti-Israel and anti-Semitic indoctrination she had received her entire life. And today, she is an outspoken advocate for peace and normalization with Israel. Rowan, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So you, of course, have been following the developments in Syria, your home country, very closely. Many Syrians have expressed joy at the fall of the brutal Assad dictatorship, but is there now also a concern about the direction the new leader, Mohammed al-Julani, former al-Qaeda member, will take the country in?
Definitely. As you said, we all have mixed feelings. We have given up. Nobody has imagined that the overthrow of the Assad regime would be so swift. It's bad news that jihadists have almost taken over the country. Therefore, I am very grateful for the demilitarization of Syria. Israel has an army and could fight back, but for the sake of the Syrian people, such buffoons cannot have chemical weapon. So I'm happy that Israel has destroyed warships, jets, and helicopters. And I must add that the Kurds in northern Syria fought ISIS, and the world should be grateful for their efforts. Men and women, they deserve better than being slaughtered by jihadis.
And do you think that the fall of Assad will lead to the return of many refugees today living in Europe, return back home to Syria, or is it too soon to tell?
I think right after the fall of Assad, millions were ready to return. And I know that they will return. However, the developments are worrying, and I trust Israeli intelligence. They have the situation under control, but it's very, very sensitive. Just today, a Syrian reporter, a lady in Damascus, in downtown Damascus, was stopped and asked what's her religion, because she's not veiled, she's Christian. This is not acceptable. The Syrians should not allow this to happen. They deserve better. And finally, the corridor between Iran and Hezbollah is cut off, not so that we replace Shiite extremists with Sunni ones. Those who want to fight are welcome to go back to Kabul. So therefore, I'm happy that Israel took action very, very quickly. And I think the superpower of Julani is that he can be at the same place with all his supporter jihadists.
And, you know, you've said that you yourself were indoctrinated with sort of a hatred of Israel. And so, you know, today, do you think Syrians as a people are open to or want peace with Israel?
Thank you for this question. When the war started in Lebanon, I realized that my followers on Instagram are mostly Zionists. So we are stuck in echo chambers and we're patting each other's backs. So I wanted to know what people are thinking in Lebanon and Syria. And I built a TikTok account. And I posted in Arabic, without concealing my Star of David, talking about peace with Israel. And I was surprised because the Arabs living abroad in the comfort of Sydney and Toronto are opposed to what I say. But people on the ground in Syria and Lebanon told me, and they write it without hiding their names and faces, we are sick of wars and we look forward to peace with Israel. We are sick of the axis of resistance and the misery they brought upon us. I add just a small detail on TikTok. In the insights of the videos, we can see the locations people are writing from. And most of my following, I don't even add English translation. Most of my following are in Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, etc.
And, you know, today we are seeing sort of the extent of the brutality of the Assad regime, especially with the heartbreaking images coming out of children emerging, you know, from the prison. Are Syrians today asking where was the United Nations? Where were world leaders in condemning Assad? You know, Assad today is free to travel around the world. There's no ICC arrest warrant against him. You know, what do you think of this?
We've always told other Arabs who urged us to support the Palestinian cause that we are fed up with their made-up cause, and when it's not to relativize their suffering, but the world didn't give a damn, excuse my expression, about everything that happened to the Syrians in the past 5 decades, but especially in the last 10 to 13 years. So cry us a river, give us a break. When the ICC issues an arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Gallant based on Hamas's claims, and the ICC knows for certain that what Assad has committed is documented, and yet an arrest warrant, even investigating, a serious investigation, was vetoed, it breaks our heart, but we've given up on the international community. And the cherry on top was seeing Bashar al-Assad recently in the urgent summit in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia lecturing the Israelis on human rights. Give us a break.
All right, well, Rawan Osman, thank you so much for speaking with us today. And let's, of course, hope for a better future for the people of Syria and the people of Israel as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it's day 431 of the war in Gaza. 3 soldiers killed in the fighting were laid to rest. The 3 soldiers were killed and 12 others were wounded in Jabalia in the northern Gaza Strip yesterday amid the ongoing war against Hamas. The slain troops from the Givati Brigade are Staff Sergeant Ido Zano, 20 years old, from Yehud Monoson, Staff Sergeant Barak Daniel Halper, 19 years old, from Kiryat Ono, and Sergeant Omri Cohen, 19 years old, from Ashdod. According to an initial IDF probe, the troops were boarding a lightly armored truck used to transport troops when Hamas operatives launched anti-tank projectiles and opened fire at them as the troops were getting ready to head out of the strip for a leave. Forces targeted and killed 10 of the terrorists who took part in the terrorist operation. IDF forces continue fighting in the area, eliminating terrorists and destroying terrorist infrastructures. May their memories be for a blessing. And today marks a historic day as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu testifies in his own corruption trial. ILTV's Ariel Alhiani was outside the court during the trial with more information.
Yes, thank you, Ladar. So today marks a significant day in Israeli history as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu becomes the first sitting Prime Minister to testify in his own corruption trial. Now, the trial, which has been ongoing for many years, is expected to dominate headlines for months to come. Netanyahu's testimony begins after his request to delay proceedings citing the ongoing war were denied, and his defense team actually argues that this decision reflects the political nature of the case. Now, the prosecution has presented 3 cases. Case 1000 alleging Netanyahu accepted luxury gifts such as cigars and champagne. Case 2000 involving a media-related quid pro quo. And case 4000, the most serious, accusing him of bribery linked to favorable media coverage. Now, case 4000 has actually weakened significantly as a key witness's testimony was found unreliable, therefore casting doubt on the bribery charge. Now, throughout all of this, Netanyahu has consistently denied any wrongdoings, and he's actually called the allegations a political witch hunt aimed at toppling his leadership. And so now, finally, after many years of controversy which have divided the nation and have also cast the Prime Minister in a very negative light, Netanyahu can finally take the stand and share his truth and his side of the story.
And we will, of course, continue to update on the trial. And President-elect Trump is arguably the most popular foreign politician in Israel, but Dutch MK and party leader Geert Wilders could be second. Wilders is in Israel for a visit, and he has received something of a hero's welcome for his unwavering support during the war. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
There may be no political leader in Europe who has been a more loyal friend to Israel than Dutch MP and PVV party chair Geert Wilders. Before the October 7th massacre, Wilders was long known to be very pro-Israel and visited the Jewish state on many occasions to demonstrate that support. Since October 7th, some of Israel's friends have shied away from public support, but not Wilders, who has stood up for Israel throughout the 13-month conflict. Wilders received a warm welcome in the Knesset. He was also received by a range of Israeli leaders, including President Herzog. All expressed appreciation for his unwavering solidarity with the Israeli people, efforts to free the Israeli hostages, and the fight against the evil of terrorism in our region. He was also thanked for his strong stand against anti-Semitism in the Netherlands and around the world.
I would like to welcome my dear friend, leader of the Netherlands Freedom Party, Geert Wilders, joining us today on yet another solidarity visit to Israel. Whether on the streets of Amsterdam or in the halls of The Hague, Mr. Wilders' support for Israel and the Jewish people has been nothing short of historic. In his own words, if Jerusalem falls, Athens and Rome, Paris, London, and Washington will be next. We are here to make sure Jerusalem shall forever stand. Thank you, Geert. Welcome to Jerusalem, and welcome to the Knesset.
Wilders has long been a supporter of Jewish rights in Judea and Samaria. During his visit, he met with settlement leaders and expressed support for their activities.
And now to switch gears for a bit of innovation out of Israel. The global climate crisis has widespread biological impacts on water, food, and agriculture. And by combining biological solutions with the precision of high-tech hardware and software, Israel can now monitor climate change more accurately and implement solutions both locally and globally. Let's hear from the Israel Innovation Authority about how they're tackling these challenges.
Bio-convergence is a cutting-edge field that spans diverse markets from healthcare and food to agriculture and sustainability. In Israel, the National Bio-convergence Program is transforming the industry by addressing every aspect of its ecosystem. The program drives investments in bioconvergence companies, builds essential research infrastructure, develops skilled human capital, and tackles regulatory challenges to pave the way for innovation and growth.
So bioconvergence is the world in which biology meets other technologies from the world of engineering, both hardware and software. It's where the high-tech meets biotech, and they both enrich each other's worlds.
In tackling the global climate crisis, bioconvergence offers groundbreaking solutions. By combining biological components with advanced hardware and software, we can monitor climate change more accurately and implement innovative strategies to address challenges on both local and global scales. A prime example is Bug Era. This pioneering Israeli company uses advanced genetic engineering to create novel strains of black soldier flies that significantly boost oil production. By breaking down economic barriers in BSF farming, Bug Era produces sustainable oils that can replace traditional food oils and biofuels. Their process also upcycles diverse organic waste, cutting greenhouse gas emissions from fuel and waste while driving the circular economy forward.
This helps Israel to overcome some of its food security challenges of being self-contained with producing its own protein for animal and aquaculture. This industry will lead to actually using black soldier fly as a bioconverter of organic waste into alternative protein, alternative oil for feed, for animal feed, for aquaculture feed, and for biofuel. And by that, to promote Israel's self-sufficient capabilities in producing its own feed.
Another innovative company is Biotech, which produces fully bio-based, biodegradable PHBV polymers, using marine biomass as feedstock in its precision fermentation process. These polymers aim to replace fossil-based plastics, eliminating the need for traditional recycling. Unlike most bioplastics, which rely on terrestrial resources and fresh or treated water and require industrial composting, Biotech offers a cost-effective, scalable solution. Current bioplastics meet less than 2% of global demand and cost at least 3 times more than fossil-based plastics. Biotech is breaking this mold, paving the way for sustainable, accessible alternatives to traditional plastics.
If we take something that nature knows how to do and do it naturally, and just emphasizing it, scaling it up and making it industrialized, in this way we are not harming the nature, but rather helping it recreate itself.
Israel has a good, strong record in the high-tech industry and top-notch biological research in all fields. Putting these two together gives you a robust approach to the tech requirements of dealing with climate change.
The future is already here. To learn more about Israel's Bio-convergence program, email bc@innovationisrael.org.il.
And today we have the privilege of hearing once again from Yael Eckstein, president of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. She shares with us a recap of some of the most important headlines from recent weeks. Let's take a look.
Shalom, my friends, from here in Israel, and here are 3 things that you should know about Israel this week. Number 1, with some war updates. The United Arab Emirates Rabbi Tzvi Kogan, was brutally murdered in the Arab Emirates earlier this week. The authorities in the United Arab Emirates take any act of violence or targeting Jews very seriously. Within 2 days of Rabbi Tzvi's disappearance, they arrested 3 suspects, finding out every detail if they acted alone or if they were sent by others. We honor Rabbi Tzvi, we honor his memory, and we pray that this will be the last targeted attack against Jewish people or anyone because of their faith. Number 2, in some positive updates, the Israeli cabinet has approved a ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah and Lebanon. After 14 months of cities in Israel being bombarded by rockets and suicide drones by Hezbollah terrorists, that has come to a halt. We hope that the northern Israel residents who have been evacuated from their homes will be able to return. And we hope that this is the beginning of a larger ceasefire agreement that will see 101 Israeli hostages who are still being held in the Gaza Strip finally brought home. And number 3, in some fellowship news, the fellowship recently donated 2 more fortified security vehicles to the cities of Horfesh and Nahariya. These vehicles provide protection to the heroic security officers who put their own life on the line as they go out to respond to terror attacks, rocket attacks, and even drone attacks. We pray that they will be protected every step of the way. Well, there you have it, my friends. There are 3 things that you now know about Israel this week. Join me next week, same place, same time, for more updates on what's happening in the Holy Land. Shalom.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Mostly clear skies are expected tonight around the country, and temperatures should reach lows of around 12 degrees Celsius or 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, cloudy skies are expected alongside warm temperatures set to reach highs of 22 degrees Celsius or 71 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channel, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, ILTV.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Madar Gravelazi. Be well, stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.